At 89, Robert Redford finally speaks openly about Paul Newman, and the timing says everything. Age has a way of stripping away filters, and Redford now sounds more reflective, more honest, and far less guarded than ever before. There's no performance left in his words, only perspective shaped by decades of wins, losses, and hard-earned clarity. Born Charles Robert Redford Jr. on August 18, 1936 in Santa Monica, California, Redford didn't grow up wrapped in Hollywood privilege. His childhood was modest, grounded, and shaped by two very different but complementary influences. His mother, Martha Hart, a freelance illustrator and commercial artist, brought creativity into daily life, teaching him to see beauty in small details. His father, Charles Robert Redford Sr., worked as a chemist and lab technician, providing discipline, routine, and a steady counterweight to Redford's restless imagination. Southern California in the post-war years was alive with possibility. Surf culture, open roads, and the distant glow of Hollywood all blended together, quietly shaping Redford's sense of ambition. Even before he understood it, the myth of cinema was working on him, planting ideas that would resurface years later. At Van Nuys High School, Redford found early freedom in performance. School plays became a safe space to experiment, fail, and grow. Confidence didn't arrive overnight. It was built slowly, through curiosity and repetition. After graduation, he enrolled at the University of Colorado to study architecture, a choice that reflected his wide-ranging interests and sharp visual instincts. But architecture couldn't quiet the pull of storytelling. The arts kept calling louder, and eventually Redford listened. He left Colorado and committed fully to acting, enrolling at the American Academy of Dramatic Arts in New York City. That move reshaped his life instantly. Mentors recognized his quiet intensity, his restraint, and a screen presence that didn't beg for attention, but demanded it anyway. Television appearances and small film roles followed through the late 1950s and early 1960s. Nothing came easy. Each job built momentum piece by piece, sharpening his instincts and discipline. The breakthrough arrived in 1969 with Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. Sharing the screen with Paul Newman, Redford didn't fade. He ignited. Their chemistry was immediate and electric, a rare balance of humor, edge, and trust. Redford's Sundance Kid felt rebellious yet vulnerable, charming but uncertain. That role reshaped the American movie hero. No longer flawless or untouchable, this was a man who doubted authority and carried fear beneath confidence. Audiences connected instantly. Redford followed with powerhouse performances in The Sting, All the President's Men, and Out of Africa, proving his range wasn't hype, it was substance. Each role revealed control, restraint, and emotional intelligence that separated him from trend-driven stardom. But Redford wasn't satisfied with acting alone. In 1980, he founded the Sundance Institute, frustrated by closed doors and formula-driven studios. That decision sparked the Sundance Film Festival, now the most influential platform for independent cinema in the world. It launched careers, challenged industry norms, and protected creative risk. As a director, Redford delivered again with Ordinary People, winning Best Picture and earning a Best Director nomination. That moment locked in his legacy, not just as a star, but as a builder of culture, opportunity, and lasting change. At 89, when Redford looks back and finally speaks on Newman, it's clear this story isn't just about fame or film history. It's about growth, rivalry turned respect, and bonds forged under pressure. It's about the quiet truths that only time allows someone to say out loud and say honestly. That honesty is exactly why Redford's words hit harder now than ever before. By the mid-1980s, Robert Redford wasn't just surviving Hollywood, he was controlling his lane with confidence and precision. This era marked a turning point where his star power fused with deeper emotional weight and sharper creative intent. In 1984, Redford took center stage in The Natural, delivering one of the most iconic performances of his career. As Roy Hobbs, he blended quiet confidence with raw vulnerability, crafting a character that felt larger than life yet painfully human. The role carried a mythic glow, but Redford grounded it with regret, longing, and restraint. Audiences didn't just watch Roy Hobbs, they believed in him. Just a year later, Redford shifted gears with Out of Africa, a sweeping epic adapted from Karen Blixen's memoir. Set against breathtaking landscapes, the film leaned on subtle emotion rather than loud drama. Redford's performance was calm, reserved, and emotionally precise, proving he could command the screen without forcing a single moment. His presence elevated the romance, giving it maturity and quiet intensity. Off-screen, Redford's hunger to shape stories grew stronger. That drive became clear in 1988 when he directed The Milagro Beanfield War, a socially charged story rooted in community conflict and cultural identity. Rather than chasing spectacle, Redford leaned into realism, moral tension, and local voices. The film showed his instincts as a director who valued people over polish. In 1992, Redford delivered one of his most praised directorial works with A River Runs Through It. Starring Brad Pitt and Craig Sheffer, the film explored family bonds, loss, and unspoken emotion. Redford's direction was restrained but powerful, letting silence and scenery carry meaning. Critics applauded his ability to guide young actors while preserving a reflective, almost poetic tone. 2 years later, Redford took a sharper turn with Quiz Show. The film peeled back the curtain on the 1950s television quiz show scandals, exposing manipulation, corporate pressure, and the erosion of public trust. Redford didn't soften the truth. He leaned into moral gray areas and uncomfortable questions. The result was tense, intelligent, and unapologetically critical. As the 1990s rolled on, Redford continued balancing acting and directing without losing momentum. In 1998, he starred in and directed The Horse Whisperer, a deeply emotional story centered on healing, trauma, and the power of nature. Set against the vast American West, the film blended emotional recovery with stunning visuals. Redford's control behind the camera remained steady, even while directing himself. Entering the 2000s, Redford showed no signs of slowing down. In 2007, he appeared in Lions for Lambs, playing a university professor caught between ideology, media influence, and personal accountability. His performance carried weight, authority, and lived-in experience. In 2011, Redford returned to the director's chair with The Conspirator, examining justice and moral conflict in the aftermath of Abraham Lincoln's assassination. The film reflected Redford's long-standing interest in history, power, and ethical responsibility. Then in 2012, he once again doubled up with The Company You Keep, directing and starring alongside Shia LaBeouf. Tackling themes of secrecy, activism, and personal consequence, Redford proved that decades into his career, his voice was still sharp, relevant, and fearless. Through every phase, Redford didn't chase trends, he challenged them. And that consistency is exactly why his legacy still hits hard today. On August 9, 1958, Robert Redford married Lola Van Wagenen in a quiet, private ceremony in Las Vegas, Nevada, setting the stage for a deeply layered personal journey that would stretch across decades. Choosing Las Vegas wasn't about flash. It was about discretion, speed, and staying out of the spotlight at a time when Redford was still finding his footing. Even then, privacy mattered to him more than spectacle. To balance that low-key wedding, the couple later hosted a second, more traditional reception on September 12th of the same year at the home of Lola's grandmother. This gathering allowed close family and friends to share in the celebration, grounding the marriage in warmth, tradition, and family connection rather than Hollywood noise. Together, Redford and Van Wagenen had 4 children, each shaping his life in lasting and deeply personal ways. Their first child, Scott Anthony Redford, was born on September 1, 1959, but passed away just 2.5 months later due to sudden infant death syndrome. The loss was devastating and permanently altered Redford's emotional landscape, leaving behind a quiet grief that he rarely spoke about publicly, but carried for life. Their second child, Shauna Jean Redford, was born on November 15, 1960. She later emerged as a gifted painter, clearly inheriting the family's creative instincts. Shauna eventually married journalist and author Eric Schlosser, forming a partnership rooted in culture, ideas, and intellectual curiosity. Their third child, David James Redford, born on May 5, 1962, followed a creative path behind the camera. He worked in writing and film production, carving out his own space rather than leaning on his father's fame. His passing on October 16, 2020, was another heavy blow, marking yet another chapter of loss in Redford's private life. The youngest, Amy Hart Redford, born on October 22, 1970, built a multifaceted career as an actress, director, and producer. Her work extended the Redford family's influence across film and theater, proving that storytelling ran deep in the household. Altogether, the Redford family grew to include 7 grandchildren, each representing continuity, legacy, and a future shaped by creativity rather than celebrity excess. For Redford, family remained grounding, even when life became complicated. Over time, however, the romantic bond between Redford and Van Wagenen quietly shifted. They remained connected through shared history and children, but emotionally, they drifted apart. Neither ever made public statements confirming a separation or divorce, choosing silence over headlines. In 1982, entertainment columnist Shirley Eder reported that the couple had been living apart for years, suggesting the marriage had ended in practice if not on paper. Nearly a decade later, Parade magazine echoed that uncertainty in 1991, noting that it remained unclear whether a divorce had ever been finalized. Then, on July 11, 2009, Redford quietly turned the page once again, marrying longtime partner Sybil Zaggers at the historic Hotel Louis C. Jacob. True to form, the ceremony was elegant, restrained, and far from Hollywood chaos, proof that even after decades in the spotlight, Redford still chose privacy over noise. Sybil Zaggers is an accomplished artist in her own right, long before her life became publicly linked to Robert Redford. She moved in with Redford in 1996, settling into his home in Sundance, Utah, and quietly becoming a central figure in his personal and creative world. Their life together wasn't flashy or performative. It was grounded, intentional, and rooted in shared values around art, nature, and culture. Their marriage reflected a mature partnership built on mutual respect, emotional balance, and lived experience. Both had full lives behind them, past relationships, and hard-earned perspective. This wasn't a fairy tale romance. It was a steady alliance shaped by understanding, patience, and choice. Later in Redford's life, that bond highlighted his continued desire for companionship, stability, and genuine connection beyond fame. At 89, Robert Redford is no longer guarding his words the way he once did. Time has stripped away the need for polish, and what's left is honesty that feels raw and earned. One of Hollywood's most enduring icons has finally opened up about his decades-long friendship and creative partnership with Paul Newman, and the emotion behind it is impossible to miss. These reflections don't sound like press quotes or rehearsed nostalgia. They sound like memories carried for a lifetime, finally spoken out loud. Redford isn't trying to rewrite history or elevate myths. He's telling it straight from the heart, with clarity that only age allows. Paul was the kind of person who made everyone around him better, Redford said, and that statement alone reveals everything. Newman didn't dominate rooms, he lifted them. Even when fame reached its peak, he stayed grounded, approachable, and quietly generous. Redford made it clear that Newman never confused success with superiority, never let applause drown out empathy. There's a reason that admiration still carries weight decades later. Redford's words weren't soaked in hero worship. They were built on lived experience, shared pressure, and mutual trust formed under Hollywood's unforgiving spotlight. That kind of respect isn't automatic, it's earned. Their bond went far beyond the screen, and Redford didn't shy away from explaining why. On set, competition never poisoned the atmosphere. "We had this unspoken understanding," Redford shared, describing a rhythm that can't be taught or forced. They trusted each other's instincts without ego getting in the way. Instead of clashing for attention, they pushed each other to go deeper. Long shooting days felt lighter because there was no tension to manage, no power games to play. That balance is rare in any industry, especially one built on image and hierarchy. Redford recalled hours spent breaking down scenes, dissecting character motives, and improvising moments that never appeared in the script. Those sessions weren't about winning awards or stealing scenes. They were about getting it right. They worked for the love of the craft, not the noise surrounding it. That shared dedication is exactly why their collaborations still resonate. Audiences didn't just see chemistry, they felt trust. And trust is something cameras can't fake. But Redford was clear. Newman's influence didn't stop when the cameras shut off. He was more than a friend. He was like a brother, Redford revealed, offering one of the most personal admissions of his career. Newman provided quiet support when headlines got loud, steady advice when choices felt heavy, and honest feedback when others stayed silent. That kind of bond doesn't come from convenience. It comes from consistency. Over decades, Newman remained a constant presence, offering encouragement without expectation and loyalty without conditions. Redford also reflected on the deeper lessons Newman passed on, lessons that had nothing to do with box office numbers. "Paul taught me that success is measured by kindness, integrity, and the impact you have on people," he said, drawing a sharp line between fame and fulfillment. Those values shaped not just Redford's career, but his life beyond film. They influenced how he treated collaborators, supported emerging artists, and navigated success without losing perspective. By opening up at this stage in life, Redford has given fans and historians something rare: clarity without spin. This isn't nostalgia for nostalgia's sake. It's a testimony to loyalty, respect, and a friendship that survived pressure, fame, and time. Their story still resonates because it's built on substance, not spectacle. And long after the cameras stopped rolling, that bond continues to stand as one of Hollywood's most genuine partnerships. If you enjoyed this deep dive into classic Hollywood history, make sure to like, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments. What do you think made the Redford-Newman bond so rare? Subscribe now for more untold stories from inside Hollywood's golden eras.